right, welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Dr. Gina. Thanks for joining us this morning. We invite you to join our conversation on Getter and Rumble. It is time now to take the political pulse of America, the beat today. New revelations about the House J6 Committee's secret surveillance operation. Congressional investigators collected an astounding 30 million lines of phone data tracking contacts between conservatives and the Trump White House, all under the banner of the January 6th investigation. Documents reviewed by Just the News show former Rep. Adam Kinzinger turned over that data to the FBI ahead of the 2024 election, data that had been gathered without a warrant using congressional subpoenas. The records were assembled by ex-Rep. Denver Riggleman, who served as a staffer on the J6 committee and later advised Hunter Biden's legal team. The FBI memo doesn't say whether the Bureau accepted the data, but the scale of the collection and the lack of oversight is raising major civil liberty concerns. Joining us now with reaction is the co-host of Cowboy Logic here on Real America's Voice, Dana Fedeucia. Good morning. Dana, it is still crazy. I'm sure you and I are both on that surveillance list. It's still crazy how we're learning about what really happened with regard to January 6th. I guess I want to hear your first reaction to this.
I'm starting to call it the 4 to 5 year plan, Dr. Gina. All this takes 4 to 5 years to come out, just like the Russia collusion hoax and COVID and everything else. Meanwhile, the damage is done. But I'd like to know how many Democrats were on that list. I would say that would be a big goose egg, don't you think? 30 million lines of phone data. By the way, Chief Sund said he requested to have the National Guard there starting on January 3rd. And then you see Pelosi recently also talking about and excoriating a reporter who asked her about it. Well, because I think it struck a nerve, but that's another thing. We have this massive dragnet at this point. They did bring in the National Guard, but that was like on January 7th, and they did surround the whole Capitol with fencing and everything else that was there for months. People seem to forget about that. And this FBI Arctic Frost, as they called it, all it really did was target Republican organizations. Turning Point USA, Trump, Republican attorneys, America First Policy Institute, Save America PAC, and other Republican and conservative groups. It's so obvious what's going on. And, you know, again, you had this Jan 6 committee that never even talked about Ashli Babbitt, who was murdered right there in cold blood on January 6th. Yeah. Meanwhile, 99.9% of the Jan 6ers were found guilty. I mean, the whole darn thing, Kinzinger saying, we used lawful subpoenas while he's crying in between whenever he gets attacked. I call BS on that. The J6 committee, again, never mentioned Ashli Babbitt or Roseanne Boylan or what's going on with all of the... It was a Fedsurrection because it was a mostly peaceful protest. And what really gets me, too, Dr. Gina, is that you had literally, 3.5 hours of a protest. That's pretty much it, 3.5 hours. And look at Portland. Look at Seattle. This is, again, going on, the 4 to 5 year plan. And, Antifa doesn't really exist. Right.
Well, as my husband always says,
it's unbelievable what they expect us to believe.
I know. As my husband always says, it's hard to imagine someone went to commit an insurrection with no guns. But apparently we all did that. And Tulsi Gabbard recently said that she was surveilled and put on the terror watch list, just as I was, under Operation Quiet Skies. So we have all these operations happening, Donna, that there is not much said about in the news. Not many mainstream media operations are covering them, and if they are, it's very briefly. But this is American citizens being surveilled, being added to terror watch lists, unable to fly, unable to do a lot of things that normal Americans enjoy because of their rights to do them, their constitutional rights, I might add, to do them. This is without any warrants. This is without any arrests.
Yeah.
And this is common Americans, many of whom don't even know they were under Operation Quiet Skies. Talk to us about this, Donna.
Well, I know Kelly Meggs was also on one of those Quad S's. And I mean, he was able to fly, but he pretty much got, a very uncomfortable check when he went through the TSA.
Yeah.
But, who was the pipe bomber, too, Dr. Gina? All this stuff is found from the left and it comes out almost immediately. But whenever the right gets asked or asks questions, nothing happens. The whole thing is such a double standard. And what really scares me is at this point, quite honestly, nothing is being done as far as getting rid of the deep state players that did this kind of thing. I mean, Jack Smith was in the criminal court of the Hague. All right, he's finally being targeted. But we had Patrick Byrne on months ago talking about the fact that Jack Smith did some nefarious things while at the criminal court of the Hague. And he was kind of pushed into doing what he did against Trump because they were saying, hey, you got to work with us. So let's see if that even comes out. Yeah. But to have people like yourself on a quiet skies list and former Congress people. I mean, to me, the double standard is getting ridiculous. And after 8 or 9 months of not really seeing some true convictions at this point is getting a lot of people like myself, and I'm sure our RAV viewers, a little frustrated.
Well, time is going to tell us all, Dana, because we're going to find out things about the torture that happened in the jails. I spent the weekend in Pennsylvania with Rob Moore's amazing Lego man and his beautiful fiance, Olivia, and his mother, with them telling me all the stories about the actual torture that took place in an American gulag that still exists today. So there's a lot that's going to come out. We have not hit the tip of the iceberg. And by the way, this guy, as you know, Army Ranger, 3 tours of duty, and then he goes through this in America, Dana. But you and Don brought it up on your show every single time you did a show.
We've been doing it.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, for 3 years.
Exactly.
I mean, that's amazing. Now talk about Lego Man here. We are going to have Dr. Henry Ely on this week. He's from the Healing for the Ages event that's happening in Dallas. I swear, Dr. Gina, you guys have to watch. He might be a little older than Lego Man, but I swear it's a what is it? A brother from another mother.
Right.
Two of them look like
yes. All right,
so
Dana
funny.
Fedeucia, we will be watching as we always do, and thank you for joining us today.
Okay, thank you guys. See you this weekend.
All right, see you this weekend. Bringing back Terrance Bates. He's in our Denver newsroom. T.
Hey, Dr. G, you guys were talking about brother from another mother. You are my sister from a similar mister. And let's go with that one. I like that. All right, let's check in with our RAV family chat room. Joining me right now, Carefree Largo, the serial chat room member. Care, good morning, my friend. How are you? Good to see you as always.
Good morning, and you're my younger brother from another mother. How about that?
There you go.
Much
like
younger,
that.
Terrance would say. Well, Terrance, good morning, and hello to all you Ravagers out there. It's been an incredible and an emotional week, and to top it all off, I wanted to mention that, of course, everybody in the chat, Terrance, was extremely emotional over the Medal of Freedom service for Charlie Kirk. As a matter of fact, AMC Javelin in the Getter chat said that it was an absolutely beautiful service. Everyone that watched genuinely was moved by the words of President Trump and, of course, Charlie's wife. My brother's keeper also mentioned that he believed that Charlie Kirk would have absolutely loved that service. And I have a feeling that you're absolutely right. I know from the chat's perspective, we're all looking forward to all the incredible things that this administration, along with TPE USA, is going to be doing in the future. And I think there's an awful lot to be excited about there.
Absolutely. You know, there's so many different chats out there. You, of course, mentioned the Getter chat. I've been spending a lot of time lately in our YouTube chat, which is also very interesting. Not that I'm neglecting any chat. Love all of our Ravagers. But there's so many different chats out there. And it's wonderful just to see the kind of community that we've built. That's the best way I can find to describe it. It truly is a community.
It is a great community that RAV has brought together. Next week, as a matter of fact, I'll be spending most of my time in the YouTube chat. So I would invite everybody to join me over there in YouTube, and we'll be talking back and forth, and maybe you'll see your name pop up here on the screen next week.
Absolutely. That will be awesome. By the way, in the YouTube chat, somehow I've come up as Terrance Bates 9610. Just yesterday, it was funny. Someone said something about 9610, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, maybe I'm ignorant. What is 9610? Only to go back and realize, oh, he's making reference to how my name is, and I have no idea where the 9610 came from. Anyway, that's part of the kind of uniqueness of the chat. Let's talk a bit about Israel, why don't we?
Absolutely. This week could not be complete without talking about President Trump's triumphant Middle East peace accomplishments. After all, this is a story that is as old as Isaac and Ishmael. It goes back 3,000 years, just like the president said. And I can tell you that from the chat's point of view, we've heard a lot of different things. We've heard this described as a peace deal between Israel and Hamas. We've heard this described as a peace deal between Palestine and Israel, even between Israel and Gazans. So I thought maybe you could take about 15 seconds here, Terrance, and explain it all to us and just put a bow on it for us.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I get to do some biblical history as well as some real history. Obviously, you mentioned Isaac and the fact that there's biblical context, if you will, as it relates to who are God's people and who should inhabit that land. That's ultimately where the argument, if you will, where the disconnect started. And of course, that disconnect now continues. Thousands of years later, and now we're at the point where we're trying to end a war, but it's a war that basically stems from who should ultimately be here, who are God's people. I think that's probably the best or the easiest way to give some context to where we stand today. I'd probably spend a whole 15-minute or actually probably an hour trying to discuss the entire historical context, but that's probably the most brief explanation I can give. Care, always good to see you. I never call you Carefree, I always just call you Care. It's easier, plus I care about you.
You call me anything you want, sir. I love you to death. And remember, you're never completely dressed until you put on a smile.
And here, I'm putting on my big smile for you right here. Kara, always good to talk to you, my brother. Thank you so much, my friend.
Have a great weekend.
A new breakthrough, you as well, my friend. Coming up, a new breakthrough that's going to revolutionize your skincare routine and the secret ingredient that makes it all possible. Find out what that is. It's next here on American Sunrise.